Get your stinking rat out. It's Late Night Large.
Welcome to a late night large that just wanted to stay for 10 minutes, have some canapes, and put one through the missus over her office desk. But instead find ourselves defending the entire building from European criminals armed to the teeth and the corrupt and incompetent filth outside. Tramping his bare feet on broken glass is me, Aaron Bliss, and leaping 40 stories with a fire hose round his waist is Mike Lash.
That's not actually a fire hose.
I suspected it wasn't. How are we growing tonight, Mike?
Dirty as usual, but yeah.
Should I say John? So yes, tonight's late night large. We're getting into the festive spirit. We decided to have a special bonus late night large where we're not ripping the government a new arsehole and talking about how miserable our situation is in the UK. Instead, we're focusing on one of the more glorious elements of the festive season, and we're going to finally answer that universal question that's been plaguing mankind for centuries, 32 years at least. Is Die Hard officially a Christmas movie? It's a controversial one, and it's something that me and Mike will promise to get to the bottom of by the end of our furious debate.
A mass debate.
Yeah, I was just waiting for that. I was just leaving.
Mass? I don't know. Yeah. But other people can get involved, and then it can be a.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, part of the reason for coming up with this, Mike, is it's one of the most hotly debated points of order on Reddit and all kinds of other forums. It for such a nonsensical question, it gets a lot of people hot under the collar. They get furious when the answer is not the one they particularly subscribe to. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get half of our audience potentially to nod along and go, yeah, good one, guys, and the other half to go, you twats, completely wrong, and just fire abuse at us.
And then tell us about it, yeah.
Exactly.
Abuse us.
Yeah, so
both get off on it. Just do it.
Now the debate is going to take place in an ordered and a disordered way. So first of all, we're going to meander around and talk about how amazing Die Hard is, and then eventually we will see into almost a courtroom setting where I will endeavour to push the case for Die Hard definitely being a Christmas movie, and Mike will fight against me by defending his opinion, or at least the one he's chosen to reflect, which is that Die Hard is definitely not a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Don't say any more for now, Mike. So first things first, Mike. Shall we kick off? Yeah, I was going to say, how many times you watched Die Hard already in the build up to Christmas?
For this year?
Yeah.
Only once this year.
Just once, okay.
Only once. Yourself?
Yeah, I haven't got around to it yet. I meant to watch it the other night, but I thought, no, maybe I should watch something I haven't seen before. So I haven't made room for it just yet. Bruce hasn't smashed into my living room via the window just right at this point. But we all know. Yeah, I mean, Die Hard in recent years, we should say for some people, because of course we haven't come to the conclusion yet, but for some people, Die Hard has become as much part of the Christmas build-up experience as putting the star on the Christmas tree. You know, it's just one of those things. Yep, stick it on the DVD player, stick it on the Blu-ray player, stick it on Netflix, whatever. It's just.
Yeah, it has. Go on.
No, carry on.
I was going to say it has become that sort of thing. I mean, so I've watched Die Hard. Only once this year. Probably this year, but this December, should we say, this Christmas, this festive period.
Yes.
But that's more times than I've put a star on the top of a Christmas tree. So.
Touche. Yes.
It's. Although I probably shouldn't be. That probably helps your argument.
Yeah. So
Anyway, bollocks to everything we say right now. Forget that for now. It's a great.
no, we're not in the courtroom right now, Mike. So we can say what we like. So, do you know the interesting thing is though, Mike? I don't know about you, or maybe I'm going to tie my own noose here, but I I don't remember as a habit watching Die Hard around the Christmas period too much before maybe the social media era dawned. Like it didn't
I,
occur to me to do it every Christmas. It's almost like so do you think it's like a shared cultural experience that's kind of created this? That
for as long as I can remember, I've watched Die Hard at Christmas.
Oh, okay, but this is the thing though. Did you watch it at Christmas just because it's a defining action movie, and you have more time to watch movies around Christmas, or did you watch it because you thought, oh, I'm in the mood for Christmas themed films?
Well, I think what you have to remember was like, so you know, years and years ago, it wasn't so much that it was what's being shown. Like what on TV? Oh, Die Hard's on TV. Like 20 times through December. So you know what I mean? And it's like, well, okay, I have to watch Die Hard. I want to watch Die Hard at some point.
I see what you,
And if it's being shown more in December.
Are we saying then, from what you're saying, are we saying that Die Hard particularly, but Christmas movies more generally, is our cultural sharing of those as Christmas movies, is that more, but is it the chicken or the egg? Do the TV companies think, right, yeah, put them on, this is a festive kind of movie, or is it the other way around, that there's just a lot of different blockbuster movies on around Christmas, and then people kind of seized on that and it got higher ratings, so they said, oh right, let's put that on every Christmas?
Probably a bit of that. But I mean, okay, so I don't know. I don't really like your typical Christmas movies, or Christmas at all, actually. But what's the most Christmassy movie that you can think of? Top of your head.
I can think of.
Yeah.
It's in, well, about 3 or 4. So I don't know, the Santa Claus or Elf.
Santa Claus, or yeah, okay, Elf, or yeah, something like that. If they started playing that in August, it wouldn't become, it wouldn't just be not a Christmas film anymore, would it? It'd still be a Christmas film.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
So so there is some like chicken and egg. Probably there are some films where they think, okay, we can push this in December and make it. You know, we are always influenced by all forms of media, and we let them form our decisions and or opinions. I say we, using the royal we there, obviously. People let their opinions. So do we. To be fair, you can claim that we don't, but we will do. A lot of our opinions will be based on someone's deliberate attempt to form them and make them that way. So, but I don't know. So yeah, was it? Well, I don't want to say too much actually, because I'm going to probably hurt myself.
Don't blow your load early, Mike.
Probably going to hurt myself actually for later on. You can just say, hang on, 10 minutes ago, didn't you say?
Yeah.
So I'll shut up.
You will shut up, yeah. No, you made some interesting points there, Mike, and I definitely agree with your the media and when we say the media, the broadcast media, the magazines, the cultural organs of communication, they do influence how we see the world. Obviously, that's why Japanese people have a different perspective of the world than Americans, for instance. Because one person's individual experiences are very narrow. You know, it forms a very narrow understanding of the world. But when you see the shared cultural experiences, think of things like the World Cup final and things like that. These are things that people can go across class, race, country divides and say, yeah, wow, what a spectacle, and say how much they enjoyed it and the players they enjoyed watching and such. So shared cultural experiences generally are very positive for us. Obviously, that also lends to the negativity of, as we know, propaganda in the news and etc. But but I mean, to give your what you were talking about more credibility, Netflix is a great example. You go on Netflix. So I avoided Netflix as long as I could. I eventually got it during the first lockdown because I was like, well, listen, I'm going to go nuts if I don't have as much possible entertainment and things at my fingertips to take my mind off things, not seeing people, etc. When you go on Netflix, it really pissed me off for a long time because it's all based on algorithms and it's very narrow according to, oh, this film is slightly similar. This is 70% similar to what you've already watched. And if you don't like that, if you think, no, I want to watch something way out there, what's the other suggestions? Oh, look at what everyone else is watching. Well, why do I just want to be served up what, you know, the most other people are watching? Because, you know, whether we admit it or not, the majority of people will just be lazy and go, oh, if everyone else is watching that, it must be good, I'll watch it. Whereas now, luckily, I managed to find this article where it gave you a comprehensive list. By the way, I'd recommend this. I think it was in the Independent. Comprehensive list of special number codes that you use on Netflix, where it takes you to specific genres and subgenres. So you avoid all the this is based on your algorithms of what you've already watched, or this is what everyone else is watching. So it's the best way of finding something completely out there, like, oh no, I want to watch like a wild comedy kung fu movie, and then just key in the code and there you go. Anyway, I digress. Do you think, Mike, do you think we should start first of all? Let's just set the scene about our mutual love of Die Hard as a movie in terms of what it means culturally, as in what it means in the scale of movies that have been made over all time. So it's worth reminding ourselves that, and I say this because obviously I did a bit of research on Wikipedia allied with my own knowledge of the movie. So bear in mind, I think we've already mentioned this before in another show, but 1987 was when John McTiernan, the director of Die Hard, made his name with Predator. So 1987 was when John McTiernan shot himself into the pantheon of directors that would be given these massive opportunities for blockbuster action movies. So Predator was his big breakout hit in 1987. But it's worth reminding ourselves that Predator, when it was initially made, had a lot of problems. And when it was initially received, it was not gilded and lauded as an action classic of the ages at all. There was a lot of negative criticism of Predator. You read some of the comments about it now and you think, you know, a lot of it I think is almost prejudice. It's like these people didn't like or didn't think action movies had any place anyway. You know, they were looking at cinema as like high art. But, you know, it was only down the line, like months and potentially years afterwards. I mean, obviously the takings for it led to his success and then him being given Die Hard. But what I mean is Predator was a lot like Die Hard because, as we'll go into later, Die Hard again was not necessarily received the way it is now on its release. You know, it was panned by a lot of people. So we're talking about two movies in 87 and 88 that John McTiernan directed rather. And these were movies that at the time were well received by a very small group of people who loved those kind of movies anyway. And then down the line, they became cult movies. And more than cult movies, they became defining movies of their genre. So we didn't realize it at the time, but we got to realize that Predator was actually a defining creature feature movie in the way that, you know, it switched genres halfway through, and we then began to, even critics began to appreciate the other great things about it. And just like that, Die Hard, 1988. So it was based on a novel I forget the name of, but it was originally based on a novel. And you know, there's some great stories about it. The script writer, can you remember the novel, Mike?
No, I'm trying to. It'll come back to me. Come back to me.
Okay, yeah.
Carry on.
So the script writer, it's another great story. The guy who was tasked with writing the script, I think, was on the brink of being homeless.
Hang on, the script writer was the guy that was tasked with writing the script, was he? Who'd have thought?
Sorry, the script writer, as in the guy tasked with writing the script, as opposed to the guy who wrote the novel. That's what I meant.
Yes, yes.
So yes,
That's what you meant as well.
Mr. Pedantic. So the script writer, in a happy coincidence again, you know, he was a classic. He was on the brink of living out of his car. You know, this was his last big chance to get something made. And yeah, the producers loved his, or rather greenlit his script almost immediately when they saw it. I think it said it took him about 5.5 weeks to come up with. They greenlit it almost immediately afterwards. And if you read the reports about it, they greenlit it because what they were looking for was a summer blockbuster. So that was their thinking. They said, we need to get something out summer 1988. We need a big blockbuster to get people flocking to the cinemas. So that was how Die Hard started, and maybe that's ammunition for Mike later, knowing that. And
Yeah.
so obviously it was made the way it was made, and I mean anyone can read the kind of problems they had with it and the bits and pieces that were tagged on, what have you. Of course, another big feature of it, Mike, was Bruce Willis. Because, of course, Bruce Willis was not an action movie hero, had never starred in an action movie, was only known for, I think, one movie that was a flop. And other than that, there was a TV sort of sitcom, I think he was in, or a romantic comedy sitcom that he starred in. I forget the name of. But effectively, Bruce Willis was not renowned as any kind of action hero or even leading man in Hollywood. So Die Hard was a real risk in terms of casting Bruce Willis. And in fact, I read in the report, he was offered a huge fee for someone like him at the time, because obviously Bruce Willis is a legend now. Back then, no bankability. You could not guarantee that a film would sell because Bruce Willis was in it. And they paid him like $5 million for appearing in Die Hard, which I think is a pretty significant chunk of the budget. And bear in mind, yeah, at that time, yeah,
huge.
But, I mean, Mike, it's huge now, but yeah, compared to Hollywood now, probably not.
Yeah,
but,
proportionally, obviously. I'm not saying £5 million is a lot of money.
Well, $5 million, but yeah.
Well, okay. Either way.
Yeah, I was going to say $5 million. Yeah, that's a lot. You know, a lot less in pounds. Like, is it now though?
Not anymore. No.
No, not anymore. But so. It was a big risk for the studio. It was kind of a risk for Bruce Willis, because if it had been a flop, what was he going to do next? You know, that might have been the end of his Hollywood career. Now, we all know that it turned out great. John McTiernan had another massive hit on his hands. That Bruce Willis broke into the mainstream. Bear in mind that his you know, that part was offered to all the usual suspects: Schwarzenegger, Stallone. I think there were some other sort of slightly less stellar names, but ones that were renowned for action movies, Paul Newman, people like that. And yeah, all of them turned it down for whatever reason. And in fact, I think I read that Bruce Willis nearly had to turn it down because he was working on something else. But then something happened on the project he was working on that meant he had like 11 weeks free. And he was like, oh, okay, I'll do the movie while I'm not working on anything else. And there you go. So rather than keep going on and on about how it was made, we know it was great. Mike, what would you say are some of your favourite parts of Die Hard? What kind of keeps you coming back to it, would you say?
The whole fucking thing. But I think, to be honest, what keeps me coming back is, I mean, is it the best film ever made? Probably not. Although it's up there. It's up there in my list of favourite films, but obviously it's not the best film ever made. But it's up there in my list of favourites.
I just thought of a really funny pun, by the way.
Go on.
Citizen McLean. But, you know,
Yeah.
best movie ever made. Just mix the two. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I thought you said really funny. Anyway, ooh, burn.
What have you, Mike?
I guess what keeps me coming back, the fact that I love the film, that always helps, and probably like nostalgia as well. I guess that connection to. I'm not saying I've strictly only ever watched it in December or early Jan, maybe, but December. But probably the majority of the times when I've watched it have been around that kind of time of year. I'm not sure I want to. That helps my cause much, but it's you know, so maybe that reason, habit. If I'm honest, probably something to do with it. What do I do other than hate on Christmas in general? What do I do in December? I watch Die Hard. What makes this time of year slightly less shit? Die Hard's on. Cool. So that's why, really.
I tell you what, Mike, just stop you there. That's a really good point you made that I hadn't thought of, because I was going to go through all the, you know, the subtext and some of the characters and bits and pieces, but you just knocked on something that I hadn't considered, which is a really strong argument: nostalgia.
Yeah.
Now, I hadn't considered that, but I think that is a massive part, I think, of Die Hard's appeal, is particularly in the massive concentrated social media age we're in. And it's been proven, this is just a psychological fact, and I'm a victim of it as well. The fact is, we live in a world that's falling to pieces. It's complete shit compared to what our parents lived through. What do you go back to when the world is falling apart? Nostalgia. No wonder, you know, if you sell stuff, toys, games, DVDs, whatever, from the 90s or the noughties, it's a massive business. You know, you'll make lots of money. People will always keep coming back for that stuff, not because they're eternally children, but because it's a really fucking nasty world at the moment. And
it reminds them of simpler times,
exactly,
happier times, when they're stress-free. The weight of the world wasn't on their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
They can just regress for that moment of time, where they're watching that film or playing that game or doing what they regress. They revert back to the simpler time when all they have to worry about was, oh, I need to get back from school quickly so I can get my fix of the game for whatever. Or so I can watch that film, or I'll get up early to watch it, or I'll stay up late at night and watch it and hope nobody, you know, where that was all you really had to worry about.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's like a mental. I consider nostalgia to be like a mental health tool. Effectively, it keeps your mental health level. It gives you. It's a comfort blanket, isn't it? Effectively. But no, that's a really good point, Mike. Nostalgia, I think, plays a huge part in it. But let me just rattle through a few of the other great things, because we know what the basic appeal of the movie is. But let me just throw in a few things that I think are great that sometimes get overlooked. So number one of the terrorists is played by the same guy who played Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters 2. That is amazing. And by the way, do your research into this guy. He's a really interesting character, and not necessarily a good way. But if you read into the guy that played Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters 2, right? If you go on his Wikipedia, he used to be a boxer and a wrestler, and you think, oh yeah, that's a bit. But read some of his life story, and he's not a very pleasant character at all. Interesting in a very not very pleasant way. But he's in it, so that's amazing. I didn't realize he was in it. How many times have I watched Die Hard? I didn't realize he was in it, and then I saw an article saying you know, that was on his thing as well, that he was in Die Hard. I was like, what? And I just scoured the internet for screenshots. Where is he? Where's he in it? And the only good picture I think you can find of him is when they all arrive, I think, unloading out of the lift, and he's like stood over Hans Gruber's shoulder, and you're like, oh, there he is, that's him. So keep an eye out for him. Vigo the Carpathian is in Die Hard. Other things.
Oh, there you go, guys.
Yeah. Other things that are great, that people don't necessarily draw attention to. There's great black characters. You know, you don't often get strong black characters in action movies. You know, you got Sergeant Al Powell. Other than when they're not leading men. I mean, if it's not Denzel or Wesley Snipes, black characters tend to be quite in the background and not.
You don't get good. Okay, let me just refute that for a moment.
Go on.
Predator. Can you think of any strong?
All right. Yeah, Predator is. But you're talking John McTiernan though. That's the connection. John McTiernan clearly sees the value of strong black characters. Anyway, so yeah, you know, you got Sergeant Al Powell. You got the guy from the FBI who's brilliant, who was also in License to Kill as well. Yeah. What else? Mike, come on, help me out here. Some great things that aren't obvious from Die Hard.
That aren't obvious.
Yeah, that aren't obvious.
I was going to say there's some great quotes in there, but that's obvious.
And I'll tell you another thing that's great is
there are things that have come out of that people still say now. They're probably kids. Like I say, kids may not be kids anymore, but walk around and might say some of these things, and they don't actually know why they're saying it.
That's true. Yeah, people are getting the
origin
quotes.
Yeah, there probably will be people walking around like saying "yippee-ki-yay," and they don't know why.
Did you know though, Mike? Because
No.
I only knew after I reviewed it on the internet. The yippee-ki-yay line apparently came from Roy Rogers, who, as you know, John McClane says is like a hero.
That's
where it originally comes from. Because I think he had a kid. He said it's kids or something on a kids show. He'd say like "yippee-ki-yay, children." So yeah, that became "yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker."
Yeah. That's what's. Let's not pretend that Die Hard isn't what made Yippee-ki-yay.
Of course, that's what projected it into the modern age and the modern vernacular. What about I'll tell you who's another great character. I'm trying to remember his name. Ellis. You know,
you say great character. The guy's a prick, but
yeah, but he's meant to be. The apparently, again, I read about it. Apparently, the actor who's obviously playing Ellis, they sort of gave him the character, and apparently making him a cocaine addicted dickhead was his own idea. The actor did that. Apparently, John McTiernan and whoever didn't necessarily mean that. And in fact, I don't think everyone liked it when he did it, but the actor sort of said, no, this is how I see him. This is what drives him. And eventually they were like, oh, well, yeah, you know, that seems to be, you know, you play that off well. And in the end, he was almost a caricature, wasn't he, of a corporate executive in the 80s, basically, Ellis's character. But I thought Ellis was great in terms of, like you say, when he gets executed, you're just like, yeah, good riddance, twat. But he did his job, you know. If you love a character, if you hate a character, if it's got strong feelings, it generally means that you play the character really well.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what else is great that is quite obvious, but Alan Rickman, obviously. Alan Rickman's performance.
Oh, yeah.
And let's not forget, I'll try not to go on to this too long, but Alan Rickman, remember, was a Shakespearean thespian, effectively, before he starred in Die Hard. He was not known at all as a Hollywood actor. And when he was cast, he obviously played the character as he did, and he got huge kudos from it, because before Alan Rickman's portrayal of Hans Gruber, you would not. I think it was generally accepted that villains were either irredeemably evil or cartoonish. You know, there was no like nuance in a villain. You knew who the villain was, and they're the kind you'd boo at a pantomime or whatever. Now, what Alan Rickman did amazingly well is he made a three-dimensional villain. So it was a villain that was, you might not say evil, but he was unpleasant, but he was also very well educated. He was articulate. He was fantastically dressed, and he also wasn't thick as pig shit either. You know, when McClane starts messing with his plans, you know, he doesn't just go for the toxic masculinity and whatever. He thinks of ways around his plan. He was a very three-dimensional villain, and it's tough to think now, but at the time that was quite groundbreaking for an action movie to have a villain that was that multifaceted.
I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes. Shall we
get on with you telling everyone why it's a Christmas movie?
All right. Okay. First of all,
Witness my attempt at refuting that.
Yes. So we're in the courtroom now, but first of all, we need to, for the jury's sake, we need to come up with some kind of a definition. What is a Christmas movie, first of all? So if we want to decide whether it's a Christmas movie or not, we have to understand the terms of Christmas movie. Mike, what do you understand as a Christmas movie?
So a Christmas movie would be a movie that is designed, when I say designed, I obviously mean created for the purpose of being about Christmas. So it's a Christmas movie isn't just a movie that's played at Christmas.
Okay.
This movie is a movie about Christmas.
So Christmas needs to be the central theme of the plot, do you think?
I mean, I don't really believe that. I'm trying to say that because it's going to help.
Yeah. Well, just stay in character for the minute, because you were doing well. Okay. So
yeah.
So in
I
that character.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. Fucking hell. Right. Yeah. So a Christmas movie it needs to be a movie that's about Christmas. Quite simply, that's what a Christmas movie is, right? So it's a Christmas movie. A Christmas movie is, yes, a movie that's played at Christmas time.
Yes.
But it's a movie that where Christmas is integral to the plot. You know, it doesn't have to be called White Christmas or a Christmas movie, right? Or, you know, but the plot needs to revolve around the fact that it's Christmas.
When you say that, do you mean, like, for instance, the characters have to learn the true meaning of Christmas?
No. It doesn't. There doesn't have to be some deep, like, meaningful message that you get from the film. It doesn't have to be necessarily, you know, like a lovey-dovey. No. It just has to be. It has to be a film that is like, okay. Trying to think of like another example of like a different type of film. So, well, you couldn't have a rom-com without romance.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. Understood.
For that matter, right? So, or if it was, you wouldn't call it a rom-com, would you? So the fact that it has to be, you take Christmas out of the film and it doesn't exist. It has to be about Christmas, right? So it's
yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
it's set really at Christmas, but not only that, Christmas should be integral to, like I say, Christmas should be integral to the plot.
So okay, so if I get you right, that was a good way of describing it, by the way. So you're saying if Christmas, the setting or the scenery or the time of year of Christmas was removed from the movie would lose its comprehensibility.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. No, I mean I can't really disagree with that. I was just going to say if we think about the movies that we do consider, let's say, Christmas classics, so to speak, off the top of my head, things like White Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, Elf, Jingle All the Way, a lot of those American TV movies, like you say, it's Christmas is integral to the plot. Now, some of those are very much the plot is about finding the true meaning of Christmas, or reuniting people, reuniting a lost love, or reuniting children with their errant father or whatever in time for Christmas. But you could just as easily have a more dramatic and adult scenario unfolding where
Right.
the plot is driven by the fact that it's also Christmas.
So what are you saying? Exactly what I said.
Well, not exactly, obviously, because I just went in a more roundabout way and didn't really add much to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to cut to the point here. What is your point? Your point is what I said, yeah?
Okay, you know what? I shouldn't really have said anything. So you
So you
said
do
that,
agree with me?
yeah, I think otherwise we're going to go on forever. So we understand what a Christmas movie is. So here we go. So here's the case for the prosecution. I will attempt to argue that Die Hard is definitely, definitively a Christmas movie. Okay.
Surely it's more fitting if you were the defence.
Okay. I'm defending the statement that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Well, I suppose it depends on where it already is. Like whether it's considered a Christmas movie, though, isn't it? Or is it not? That's not what we're debating? Well, aren't we debating whether it should be or not?
Yes.
Because it is. But all intents and purposes, I guess the general consensus at the moment is that it's a Christmas movie.
Can
right?
we disprove that? Yeah.
So your defence, you'd be the defence.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So fine. Yeah, I'm the defense. So the defense will.
But defence after you. Ladies first.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Mike. And yeah, so here we go. So some of the reasons that Die Hard is absolutely incontrovertibly a Christmas movie, pretty obvious things. So number one, it obviously the time and place. It takes place on Christmas. Is it Christmas Eve?
Yes.
It's on Christmas
Yes,
Eve.
it is.
So it's Christmas Eve. It's a Christmas office Christmas party at the Nakatomi Plaza. He's attending. There is. Okay, that's that. Other aspects of the movie that play into the Christmas theme. The Santa hat that he puts on the first terrorist he kills, and writing "I have a machine gun, ho ho ho," with the Santa reference. Slightly more abstract things. There is literally a Christmas songs on the soundtrack, particularly the one I can think off the top of my head, the Run DMC one. I forget what it is, Christmas in Hollies or something. But that Run DMC one.
That's actually about I think it's the place, the part of New York they grew up in or whatever.
Yeah.
Run DMC.
I think you're right. Doesn't Argyle, the limo driver, doesn't he also he plays up to the Christmas stuff as well? Like he's in the back seat with a teddy and I don't know, some Christmas. Is he listening to Christmas stuff on the radio?
No.
No, other than the Run DMC track anyway. Okay. Let me think of some other Christmas references. Obviously, the whole family being together, him trying to reconcile with his estranged wife, and obviously the children, who they all want to have a Christmas together, and then that's obviously one of the integral parts of the narrative. Is him reconciling with his wife, and then reconciling as a larger part as a family for Christmas, which, to bolt onto my argument, is where a lot of Christmas films go, Mike. Bringing the family together for Christmas.
That's tenuous link at best.
I don't think it is. I think that's an integral part of all Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Whoa! Let me just fucking tear that apart because that's poor. You telling me there's not a movie
Go on then,
set,
go on then,
whether it's
prosecution.
a Christmas movie or not, that isn't about bringing families together? So if there's a film about bringing families together, then it's a Christmas movie.
No, but that is a common.
And still, the references to Christmas don't make things a Christmas movie. You can't just. There has to be. Look, we said the plot.
We're building a case, Mike.
Yeah, well, your case is flawed.
Oh well, we'll see about that. So first of all, what you just said is bollocks because it's a common trope that is specific to Christmas movies. It's bringing families together for the holiday season. I'm not saying that doesn't happen in any other genre of movie. I'm saying that is a common trope in Christmas movies. So that's what I meant by that.
Okay, all right. What I'm saying, well, okay, I agree. The family are being brought together for Christmas.
Yes, but
that is not an integral part of the plot.
I'm sorry, I disagree with that, Mike.
You can remove that. You can remove that from the plot, right? All right. So fucking John McClane attends generic party.
Yeah.
At wife's place of work.
Right.
You can remove any reference, or he's coming home from. They live at the moment, and as a result, work in different parts of the country.
Yes,
right.
But
they're coming together anyway for a generic reason. Kid's birthday. Replace it with birthday or.
I don't think it would work the same way. I don't think it would work the same way. There's
you can take Christmas out of it.
Mike, you're forgetting. Yeah, if you take Christmas out of it, it wouldn't be the same movie. I'm telling you that in American culture particularly, Christmas has more of a resonance than any other holiday. It's the obsession with the family getting together.
Probably Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but we don't understand movies like that. If
America, hang on. So you can't say, "Oh no, in America," and then go, "Yeah, but we don't understand." Are you talking about in America? Or are you talking about here?
Go on then, Mike. Why don't you rattle off the list of great Thanksgiving movies you can think of?
No, there are some.
Oh, there are some, are there? You just can't think of any.
I don't watch them. You telling me that are?
Right, yeah, okay.
Are you telling me they don't exist?
I'm telling you that they probably do exist as shitty TV movies. What I'm saying is nobody outside the US understands Thanksgiving. You all understand the resonance of Christmas.
Oh, okay. Nobody outside the US where the film was made.
But it's for a wider Western audience.
Because Thanksgiving has no relevance to us in this country. That has nothing to do with how Die Hard was made.
So you think Die Hard would have been an equally well-received movie if it was set around Thanksgiving? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly. What I'm saying is,
I don't agree.
Because it's Christmas, yes, there are references and that help to make the movie. That's indisputable. The Christmas hat and the now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho. That helps. That could be replaced by.
Okay, hang on. I'm not finished. I'm not finished, Mike. You'll have your turn to tear it to shreds.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, more things. So Al Powell, the cop who helps John McClane in the end, he's humming a Christmas carol, obviously.
He's what?
He's humming a Christmas carol, isn't he? But nobody has no place to go. So that's like a big thing when I don't know whether it's when he's buying Twinkies or when he's like walking through the office of Nakatomi, but he's clearly singing along and humming the words to a Christmas carol. So again, that's the building up the whole Christmas setting.
Yep.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to prove you wrong that you could not just remove Christmas and have a very similar movie. Here it is. Why is the Nakatomi Plaza the way it is, where it's completely empty other than staff on one floor? Because they've all gone home for Christmas. If it was Thanksgiving, yes, a lot of them might be home, but it wouldn't be the same situation. People go home.
Or how about because it's a party in the evening? They've gone home because they don't work.
Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve.
Yeah, are you saying at 10 o'clock at night on any other day of the
Yes.
year that building would be full?
Yes, in America it is.
Bollocks.
Mike, do you know anything about the lack of holidays they have in America? Like,
Yeah.
nothing like this country.
So
Anyway.
hang on. So we are allowed to use the fact that we know stuff about America, or we're not?
I'm sorry, I'm missing
Nothing
your point
about Thanksgiving, so it doesn't translate.
here.
Well, what?
Okay, yeah, okay, maybe you're right that point was not well founded, but my point about the plaza is well founded. On Thanksgiving, you would not have such an empty building with staff only congregated on one floor.
Yes, you would.
On what basis are you saying that? What
On Thanksgiving, they would be at home with their
what-
families, giving thanks.
Yes, and on Christmas, they're not. They're having a Christmas party. They don't have a Thanksgiving party with the office staff.
How do you know? That's not fair.
I think you're losing this one, Mike. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, it's just a stupid point.
So no. I'm shut your point down because the setting, as in all the office staff congregated only on one floor and the rest of the building completely empty, other than the obviously infiltrated terrorists. That would not happen at any other time of year. That is unique to Christmas Eve.
Unless they were having a party for any other reason at any other time of year, in which case, where would all the people in that building be?
I think
on the floor where the party is.
I think your point is weak.
No, if it was a I don't know, maybe they were celebrating something else, a big takeover or whatever from they just bought out another business, right? Cool. And having a party to celebrate, and it's late at night, having a party to celebrate the takeover, the business would be empty other than those attending the party.
Okay.
The building would be empty.
I'll tell you what, Mike, I'm reading a particular blog that's quite useful and it actually backs your point up. I don't agree with this either because I think my point overrides this. But it says, which is your point, could Die Hard take place on, say, Independence Day, Halloween, or just a random Tuesday? Of course it could. The holiday has no bearing on the actual story. Hans Gruber and his cohorts aren't attacking Nakatomi Plaza because it's Christmas. Even John's visit is more about reconnecting with his wife and children than any other specific holiday tradition. Yes, Die Hard begins and ends with the wishes of Merry Christmas and features some token holiday themes in the background, but there's nothing Christmas related at all about the plot of the film. I don't agree with that.
You could replace all of the Christmas references with references to another holiday or to anything else that added value, anything comedic, anything. Replace that theme with anything else.
Another holiday.
You still have the same film.
Another holiday that results in everyone being congregated only on a single floor, no one else in the whole office building, and not just that, but the police response is sluggish, and the fact that there aren't loads of people milling around because they're all going home for Christmas, they're making their Christmas plans. I mean, you know, you can make, I think it's quite a thin argument to say you could completely strip Christmas out and make it a Halloween party and it would be...
I don't think we're saying strip it out, but you need to replace it with something to add substance to the movie, otherwise it'd be a shit film. But you could replace it with something else and you still have the same film. You still have John McClane coming to meet up with his family, try and smooth things over with his wife, to see his kids. You still have Hans Gruber and his posse, right, trying to steal a load of fucking money or bonds or whatever from Nakatomi Plaza.
Explain to me.
But it's Christmas doesn't mean, right, so they've used Christmas as a tool in the film.
Yes, but
what I'm saying is if you replace those things with something else, you still have the same film.
But explain, I know you're saying that. What I'm saying is, what do you replace it with that makes it plausible that the entire office skyscraper is empty bar one floor and there's no one else bothering anyone?
You're really, like, literally, so your whole argument about it being has to be a Christmas film is because there's no one else in the building other than that one floor. That's pretty weak. They could.
No, my argument is that it's
they could be celebrating. It's late at night. right? And they could be celebrating the fact that they've just taken over another business. Big buyout, multi-million-pound buyout, just bought out another business. They're celebrating. So anyone still in that building is on the floor where the party's at.
So Hans Gruber and his terrorists know that they're having that particular party on that particular evening. Wow, they must be well connected.
Wouldn't probably be that hard for them to find out, would it?
Well, anyway, I'll continue my attempt to.
Hans Gruber, like you said,
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong, Mike. I think you're
Hans
wrong.
Gruber, like you said, is a very smart man. I'm sure he could find a way to figure out that there's a party going on. He's doing it in the building, hasn't he? And the people that work there. But look, when he goes and lists off all those facts about old Nakatomi geezer, and then like he's done his research.
All right. So
it's not important for him to know that something's happening in a huge business.
Okay, all right. Do you know what, Mike? I'm going for the nuclear option. So, yeah, I mean, I think my argument about the layout of Nakatomi on that particular night, I don't think you've made a convincing case that it could just be replaced. But okay, some of the other stuff is a bit weak. No, I agree. Some of the other stuff is a bit weak. So I'm going to pull out. I'm going to pull out this brilliant blog where someone makes it clear by real hardcore data whether they think why they think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. So they break it down into three elements. They say there's a creative element. We see the film as an artistic work. We can pass the intent of the filmmakers and limit our inquiries to what we see and hear while watching it. Yeah. Commercial, we focus on the film as a commercial product made to fuel a capitalist industry which is propelled by marketing in response to customer demands. Or cultural, we could put aside the story within the movie, i.e. the plot, and focus on the story of the movie, meaning what does a movie mean to people, how it is regarded, and how it fits into the wider discourse of movies and of culture more broadly. So he says,
forget what he says. Let's for a moment, use this guy's framework.
Yes.
Without reading this whole article, right? Let's use his framework. So what have you got? Creative? No. Sorry, what were the three?
Creative, commercial, cultural.
Okay, you tell me. Forget what he said. I mean, you've got it in front of you, but forget what he says, right? Yeah. Creative. Argue. Go.
So, for instance, we know at least one contributor to the script says it was deliberately intended to be a Christmas movie. So that's obviously in its favour. Some others disagree, but there you go. According to his data, the word Christmas actually appears in Die Hard 18 times in the script. And to give it context, that's actually more than words like explode, die, hard, shoot, kill, blood. Although he does also argue that the words gun, terrorist appear more. Which is ironic because obviously they're not terrorists.
No, but they're referred to as terrorists.
They are referred to as terrorists.
They're not even terrorists, and the word terrorist is used more than the word Christmas.
Very good, yes. So visual references, though, he puts a total of 21 distinct Christmassy elements in the movie, ranging from things like the Santa hat on top of the dead terrorist, Christmas trees, obviously, because of the Christmas party, festive treats, and a pivotal Christmas greetings tape, of course, which proves crucial in the end because that's how McClane gets the gun taped to his bare back, which gives him the upper hand right at the end.
Any tape would have done, but yeah, okay.
Well, so you could replace that tape with any other tape. Because tape always is lying around an office that has nothing to do with packaging. Right, okay.
What? You could replace that tape with any tape.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't replace it with sellotape.
What? So there's... What?
Mike.
No, bollocks.
I'm sorry how you see this. You're walking around a skyscraper. You're not just going to find packing tape randomly where you need to find it. the whole reason he finds the tape is because it's Christmas. There's all this tape around because
Right,
of people wrapping gifts.
No, right. Listen. When you make a film or something like that, and you know this, you have a certain amount of creative license to, things to be where they wouldn't otherwise be. Someone to say something they wouldn't otherwise say, right? Yes. When he's walking through the fucking building, right, you see fucking posters with birds with their tits out, right? What you could easily say, well, that doesn't have any place there. But it's there for a reason. The reason is whoever the maintenance guy is on that level is a bit of a perv. Cool. Okay. So there could be any number of reasons, plausible reasons why you might find tape.
Sorry, Mike. No, Mike.
If you're going to poke holes in the plot of the film, right, there are plenty more like things that you could say other than you couldn't possibly find tape unless it was Christmas.
No, that is crucial to the plot, Mike. It's a Chekhov's gun. That tape is absolutely required for McClane to finish off the last two terrorists. Without the tape, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and you can't say...
No, if you're telling me... No, hold on. If you're telling me he's wandering around, bloodied, bruised, he doesn't know what's around the next corner, and then, oh, look, there's some random packing tape. It would be ludicrous. People would say, what a load of shit, that they've just planted that. That is what's called, well, effectively, it's a deus machina. It's just, God has pulled his hand down and just planted an item there that's very useful for no particular reason.
Okay, watch any film ever made, look for those, and I challenge you not to find them all over the place.
Trust me, I watch films with a level of analysis where I pick things out like that and say, well, that's a deus ex machina.
Right.
Wrong description, but an item needs to have a good purpose for being there. You can't just plant an item somewhere and go, oh, he needs some packing tape. Okay, let's say he comes across some packing tape. That makes no sense in any context other than, oh, it's Christmas, so there'll be tape everywhere.
Yeah, okay, I agree. So maybe it would be a bit strange. I don't think anyone would pick up on it, by the way. But, okay, maybe it'd be a bit strange if there was tape. And there could be any number of other reasons. You could... Remember, if you're not implanting all of these Christmas references, you're implanting something else. So there's another way. There'd be another way to do it.
Yes, but what I mean is you would have to make a specific other way. You couldn't just replace it with nondescript parcel tape.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you've taken out Christmas and replaced it with something else, you could find a way for it to be there.
That's fair enough, but I understand what you're saying, but my point is still relevant in that tape has to be related to Christmas because there's no other reason parcel tape would just appear randomly where you need it. So yes, you would need to come up with another way that he...
Also consider this. How many films have you seen where things have just happened to be where someone needs them to be? Every fucking film you've ever seen.
And as I've said, Mike, I get very, very angry when films plant things there and there's no context to why they're there.
Right. You get angry because it happens, therefore it doesn't happen? What? No, if anything, it does happen.
Go on.
You're proving my point. The fact that it happens, you're proving my point.
Give me an example.
You've just said you get very angry when it happens. So clearly there are examples.
It happens very rarely, Mike, because the thing is, if you're making a really...
That is fucking nonsense.
No, it's not. There's a lot of mistakes. There are a lot of mistakes, even for big Hollywood movies. You see all the websites. There's a list of goofs for all kind of movies. But they are goofs that are generally related to things like continuity. Oh, look, the boom's slightly in shot. These kind of things. They don't relate to something as integral as he needs this item. We're not going to build up to it at all, and there's going to be no context as to why it's there, but there's just a pair of scissors that he finds. That's the kind of thing you don't make errors with on big movies.
What? So people don't randomly find things in films?
No. There's a build-up. Either there's a build-up where it's shown before they actually need it, or there's a specific reason that if they walk into a tool shed, oh, there's a hammer.
Okay,
well, that makes sense because it's a tool shed.
Right. So it's a film about fighting or something, and something that doesn't happen to just be a gun somewhere that someone finds, or it's a sword.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, Mike.
Have you actually
Unless
seen?
you're watching a really cheap film, cheap trashy film, I'm sorry. If they find a gun, it's because another character has dropped it, and they are shown to have dropped it.
No.
Anyway,
That's,
where were we?
And also, then, if you don't want to have any tape there, then he finds another way to do it. My point is, there are other ways they could have written him in to kill those two, other than having Christmas tape gun like on his back. If they wanted to tape,
yeah, no, I agree.
they
Yeah,
could have found another way to get tape there. I'm not saying it would organically always be there, but it would have been very easy to find another way for the tape to be there. Or if they really couldn't, and they really had a massive problem with, oh my God, how can you plant tape there? Right? They just find another way for him to kill them.
yeah, no,
He could kill them in another fashion, and it wouldn't matter.
I'd agree that they would have to find another way. I was trying to say to you that no matter what you seem to be implying, the Christmas tape is integral to that scene. Yes, the scene would have had to been rewritten. You couldn't just rewrite it with, oh, he randomly comes across parcel tape.
But you could rewrite that.
Yes, you
That's
could, yeah,
and it would make the blindest bit different to the film.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so what if we move on to the commercial element? There's not a lot in there's not a lot in support of the commercial element, because as we probably said before, and adds to your argument, the Die Hard producers and executives did not see Die Hard at all as a Christmas movie. They wanted it released for a summer blockbuster. That's what they demanded.
All of the commercial, all of the advertising. You've got a DVD of Die Hard. Look at the front of it. You'll see no reference to Christmas. Posters advertising the film. No Christmas.
Carry on. I'm just gonna see if I can grab the meat. Carry on, make your point.
As far as so what I'm saying is, it wasn't advertised as a Christmas film. So when you talk about commercial, when it was released in July, I think. July?
That sounds about right, yeah.
July.
Right.
There's no Santa's not on the front of it. There's no Christmas bit. It wasn't released or billed as a Christmas film. So commercial, if this guy's argument that you found somewhere, one of his 3 points, the first one, obviously I'm right. Second one, commercial. You can't argue that commercial is a Christmas film. There's no argument.
Yeah, there was nothing marketed originally to reference Christmas. So yeah, I haven't got a leg to stand on in terms of commercial. And cultural. So if we view it as a cultural icon, now this is possibly this is probably what you would say is the strongest argument, I guess, for it being a Christmas movie, which is
Undoubtedly it is, yeah.
Yeah.
There's more to say, it isn't.
So Die Hard is apparently the 22nd most frequently cited movie of all time in Christmas-themed IMDb lists. Wikipedia page views, average spread of annual Wikipedia page views for top action films, and for Die Hard, let's have a look, massively spikes around December and January. Although it's got a little bit of a spike in July, so that was when it was originally released, I believe. But yeah, so the majority of people seem to watch it in December and January. So
is that just when it's on though? It's these days.
Chicken and egg, though, isn't it? It's chicken and egg.
That's when it's advertised. I would say that, comparative to other Christmas films, although there's a spike, so I think I've seen this article that you've looked at, and I think December has about 3 times as much kind of traffic through that particular page as it would do the rest of the year. But you look at other Christmas films, that difference is much bigger. So isn't it just that's when it's thrown in our face rather than because it's a Christmas film?
You mean, are we talking chicken and egg again?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's an argument. I don't really know how to conclude, by the way. The reverse of Die Hard does mention Christmas, but only once, and there's no pictures of festive stuff. So you're right about that in the commercial. So the strongest argument is probably in the cultural realm, which is as a cultural icon. Other than the Christmas thing, we also should just say that Die Hard is a massively influential action movie by itself, and the way that you understand this is by realizing that prior to Die Hard is probably renowned on being the first action movie in the terms of the subgenre of the lone man under siege in a strange place. Do you know what I mean? As I was saying that, I was thinking, oh, Rambo, but it's more of it's a man in a situation he didn't intend to be in, and then suddenly he's under siege and he has to fight against this invading army of some kind. Now, the way you can tell how influential, profoundly culturally influential Die Hard is because in the years following Die Hard, every action movie pretty much was termed Die Hard Honor something. You know, so Speed was Die Hard on a bus. Even Under Siege was Die Hard on a battleship. So that's how hugely culturally impactful it was. So it was a groundbreaking movie, but I have to.
Groundbreaking action film, not a groundbreaking Christmas film.
So you say. So unfortunately, maybe I haven't done a good enough job of it, but I have to round off the defense. I think there's more than enough Christmas references in the movie. I think parts of the Christmas referencing serve crucial parts in the plot. I don't think it's simple enough to say you could strip Christmas completely out of it and it would be exactly the same movie. But I rest my defense that Die Hard is definitely a Christmas movie. Mike, do you want to round up your argument?
So, okay, yeah, round up the argument. So we talk about your boy's article there where he's got creative. Sorry, remind me what the three were.
Creative, commercial, cultural.
Right. Creative, as we said, you could strip Christmas from the film, replace it, or change it slightly, but without changing the theme of the film, the plot massively. You might have to change a scene or two, but the message would be the same. The end result would be the same. The way he gets it done largely would be the same, right? It would still be that action film cult classic that you described it yourself as, right? So creative wise, you can strip it and you can still use it. It would still be a great action film. Bollocks. What was the other one? Commercial. I mean, commercial, you skipped over that quite quickly and for good reason.
There's no justification in commercial.
Commercially, yeah. So that's a big tick in the prosecution's box. Thank you. Culturally, okay, yeah. So that is a stronger argument for why it would be a Christmas. If we use his framework, your boy's framework there, but still, it's not as. I think we revert back to your own chicken and egg argument. You've got actually the difference. Yes, that there are 3 times more page views in December than there are in August. Okay, cool. But for a Christmas film, that number is multiplied drastically more. So actually, is it just that there's more then because that's when it's advertised, because that's when it's thrown, rather than the fact that it's a Christmas film? Is that just it's thrown in people's face at Christmas or in December more? So that's why it gets more views. There's more press around it. It's shown on TV. So my argument would be you could take any film and advertise it in December and see a spike in IMDb page views. You could play Lord of the Rings on repeat in December and you would see the same spike. And you would also see the stronger numbers throughout the rest of the year compared to other Christmas films. So there we go. Commercial was a strong one to argue against because of, commercially the stats would show it works more or shares more traits of a Christmas film, but certainly not on the same level. So, take that. And, like we said, you can take the elements of Christmas out. You don't have the same film, but imagine you'd never seen it and they replaced it with something else. It would still work.
Do you think it would have its same emotional resonance? Because, of course, it would work as an action movie.
It depends how they did it. But it would still work as an action film. Hans Gruber would still be labelled a terrorist, and still not quite sure why he's labelled a terrorist necessarily. He's not really, as he's a robber.
Yeah. Although to be fair, he one of the things I find amusing about the film is it's been accused of quite a few things, by the way, the film, because the subtext. People look at the subtext of the film. It's been accused of being all kinds of things. I think some people accuse it of being communist, some people accuse it of being hyper-capitalist. Other people have said, probably quite rightly, that it's, in a way, it's very anti-authority because the police and the FBI are made to look incompetent, corrupt, arrogant, slimy, backstabbing, duplicitous. I mean, there's an argument, Mike. Roger Ebert, one of the famous reviewers, one of his arguments, which I think is a very strong argument, is he thinks Die Hard suffers because of just how ridiculous the police captain is. The Dwayne T. Robinson, is it?
Yeah.
He's so over the top, counterproductive, incompetent, arrogant. Just wants to be made to look like a hero without putting in the work or the research.
Maybe a little bit, but
did you
boy outstays from that kind of side of things.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so the important thing is, what conclusion did we come to then, Mike? Who do you think's won that argument?
The conclusion clearly was, I mean, if you look at the two arguments and which was the stronger, there can be no doubt. And please tell us if you disagree. There can be no doubt that the prosecution's case was stronger, and therefore, as Judge Large, I'm going to bang my gavel. Gavel, is it? What's it called?
Gavel.
Yeah, gavel. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
Order. Prosecution wins, and it's not a Christmas film. Can we break out of character now?
Yes. By the way, just before we break out of character, we'll just say I didn't make a good job of it. The reason being always that on Late Night Large, I'm always better when I'm scripting things, and Mike's always better off the cuff. I clearly didn't put any effort into scripting this, hence why Mike has won that. So he's right. The prosecution did win that. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie according to that. Right, out of character.
Okay, yeah. Oh, it's a Christmas film.
Yeah, it is a Christmas movie. Both me and Mike definitively will say Die Hard is clearly a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Despite Mike winning that dubious battle, it is a Christmas movie. Mike, we both agree on that, but can I just throw one more fiendish question at you?
Hit me.
That could open a can of worms.
So am I now defending it?
Not necessarily, but I've asked you the question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie definitively? And now I'm going to ask you, is Home Alone Die Hard for kids?
Yes. There it is. I have spoken.
Yeah. There we go, kids. So Home Alone is the PG version of Die Hard.
Yeah, and when you get old enough, you move on to
exactly. Home Alone is also a classic Christmas movie, and then when you get to 14, 15, you graduate to Die Hard. Yep. Right, yeah, I think that's it. Right. Anything else? Sorry, carry on, Mike.
I was just going to say, we've definitely babbled on for long enough now, I think.
Yeah. Anything to add before we go? Any quotes or anything you'd like to throw out there?
No, we're not gonna quote it. Only thing I will say is, if you're listening to this and you haven't yet watched Die Hard this year, please do. You won't be disappointed, and if you are, go fuck yourself.
Do you have any, Mike? What you say people should watch Die Hard, which of course I also advocate. Do you have any Easter eggs that they can look for? Things that aren't obvious immediately, that you could get people to look for and go, oh yeah, that's really, really cool. I didn't notice that before. So for instance, the one I gave.
He's changes his shirt. Seems to randomly. Watch this. So John McClane is wearing a white wife beater, right? And I know he does various things. He's crawling around, but it seems to be a point. I can't remember exactly what point it is, but all of a sudden he's not. It's grey, and it's not dirt. It's just a different colour.
So you think it's a continuity error?
There is a continuity error there that I believe.
Okay.
I'm happy to be proven wrong if there is a reason that changes or somehow I can't remember. Tell me, but I think there's one to potentially there. Go on, have you got one?
Well, other than the one I said, look for Vigo the Carpathian. I think there's a famous goof as well, isn't there? When they're shooting out the glass to cut McClane's feet open, and I think Hans looks at Carl and says, I think he says, "Schieß den Finster" or something. And if you translate it from German, it doesn't make any sense, because I think he's trying to say shoot the glass, but he ends up saying shoot the window. And I think window in that German context means a window on the outside of the building. So it doesn't make sense in the context of shooting the glass inside. So
unless you are German or you fluently speak German, you probably wouldn't pick up on that one anyway, would you?
You might do, because if you notice, when he says it, Carl looks at him really funny and doesn't react, and then eventually has to say it in English.
That could just be, yeah, maybe.
Maybe it was deliberate. I don't know. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
I think that's it. I think we don't. Yeah. What we don't need to do, we don't need to sell Die Hard. That's one thing we do not need to do. Our good listeners and watchers and whatever just need to trust us that if you haven't seen it this year or even at all, and if so, where the fuck have you been? Watch it. I implore you to watch it this holiday season. Do it. Watch it. You won't be disappointed. And like I say, if you are, then feel free not to tune in again, because it's just not worth it.
No, it's not, no. Well, that was our Christmas special that we hope you enjoyed. And while the weather outside is frightful, and we'll be back for another caustic social commentary next time. But we thought we'd give a Christmas special to help everyone get into the festive spirit. And until next time, people, yippee-ki-yay.